Today we're taking a look at the new 2024 Carbon 1X by Bowtech. Welcome back to Mike's Archery, and we are taking a look at some of the new 2024 bows from Bowtech, and we have got their new Carbon 1X bow on the table today, taking a look at the great features and specs that they have changed for this year. So as we look at the speeds on the Carbon 1X, we've got 339 feet per second. We've got an overall axle-to-axle length of 33 inches, giving it an overall cam-to-cam length of 38 inches. Now the brace height on this bow is coming in at 6 1/8, and when we look at the weight, the advertised weight on this bow is at 4.5 pounds. Now as we took it out of the box, we threw it on the scale, we got 4.6, and since there's nothing really to take off of this bow as far as dampeners or other accessories, it stays at 4.6 out of the box, very similar to what they're advertising this bow. Now we will say it's probably the heaviest carbon bow out there, so if you're looking at shooting a carbon bow because of weight, this is probably not the bow you want to look at, but if you want the top end from Bowtech and you want that carbon riser, this is where you want to be. Now on the draw length option of these cams, we've got 25.5 out to 30.5, and with that longer axle to axle, we would have liked to seen a little longer draw length option on this bow, but for some reason we're there at 30.5 on the top end, and 25.5 being the shorter end, fitting most archers in the market. Now as far as the draw weight options on these, Bowtech has traditionally stayed with a lighter poundage, so you can get this in a 50, 60, and 70, but you cannot get those heavier draw weights that we see out of some of the other manufacturers. Overall, it's going to fit most people in the market and be a great choice for you. Now on this cam, we've got an adjustable let-off, being able to move from 65% all the way out to 85% on the same cam without any press needed to make those adjustments. Now as we dive into the features of the Carbon 1X, there's a handful of changes from last year. It's definitely got a new head on the top of that riser, just changing the limb pocket angle a little bit, but it's still a little bulky, and I'm afraid that's where they're getting most of their weight, is using those aluminum heads to be able to keep that deadlock system. So that dual lock pocket is definitely allowing them to give a solid platform to shoot off of and making it an accurate shootable platform, but it's adding weight to this carbon riser. Now for the DeadLock cams, you've still got the DeadLock system. Being able to tune this bow is probably one of the best systems on the market for being able to get that perfect tear out of your bow. You've still got your flip disc technology, and everything's going to come from the factory set in that comfort setting. You are able to flip that disc, get your performance setting, and if you need or want to gain another 7, maybe 8 feet per second is what we normally see. Now we have always felt that when you do that performance flip disc, it's really not necessary and maybe not worth it to get the extra feel and extra performance. You lose that better feel and smoother draw cycle to get those few feet per second on these bows. Now one of the things they did upgrade for this year on the new cam system is TimeLock. So it's something that we saw on their target models, and we really expected them to do it on their hunting models, and they did. It's a really great feature, adding to that system that they already had as probably one of the best tuning systems on the market. You now have the ability to adjust any creep or change that may have happened in your cables with a simple turn of a screw and without a press. It makes it so simple and nice to tune this bow perfectly and get your timing in place anytime, anywhere. Now one of the other features they have on these bows is the integrated systems. Now they used an integrated rest system on the Carbon 1, so you can use any of those dovetail integrated rest out there on the market now, but there is no integrated sight option on this. That's due to that carbon riser being able to fit a bracket on there of some type for you to use, and since they went with the center mass technology on their aluminums, there's just no way to drill a hole through the center of a carbon riser to do that. So you're still going to have to mount a conventional sight to the Carbon 1X. Now they kept with their same flex guard, which they've had for several years, taking the torque out of the cables and getting those cables out of the way during the shot and giving plenty of clearance. Now because of the carbon riser, they were unable to add grip lock technology to this because of the way it works, but it's still got a great feeling grip on the Carbon 1X. Now as we look at the color palette for the new Carbon 1, they gave us a camo option for this year in the Mossy Oak DNA, and then all the other color options are a solid color, allowing you to choose from black, flat dark earth, their outdoor green, as well as the smoke gray, giving a great bunch of colors there, but not an extensive camo option with just the one Mossy Oak. Now the price point on the Carbon 1, as with most carbon bows, is higher than everything else on the market when you look at flagship models, but it's right there with some of the competition, if not a little lower, at $16.99. So for a carbon riser bow, you're getting a little bit of a value coming in under what we're seeing from some of the competition. From here, we're going to step back to the lane, take some shots out of this bow, and put it through its paces to see what kind of numbers it puts up in speed, decibel reading, as well as overall feel of the shot. As usual, we'll be shooting this bow on 70 pounds, 29 inches, and 85% let off. So we've stepped back here to the lane with the new Bowtech Carbon 1X, and this is their new redesigned carbon riser bow for 2024. We're going to shoot this thing over the chronograph, as usual, on 29-inch draw length, 70 pounds, and 85% let off. We'll give you a breakdown of all the specs here. So let's just see how the new Carbon 1X performs. All right, so on a 350 grain arrow, this bow is shooting at 310 feet per second. And then on a 400 grain arrow, we drop down to 294. With a 450 grain arrow, it gets 279. And with a 500 grain arrow, it gets 267. So overall, some nice speeds out of the new Carbon 1X. It's pretty much where we expected it to be. It's got a nice IBO rating, nothing spectacular, but you know, it's putting up really nice numbers where we see most bows. So on a noise rating from this bow, we've got 94.5, a fairly quiet bow. It's just an overall good hunting bow from that standpoint. It's not going to be loud. It's not going to be super quiet, but it's plenty quiet enough from our testing. So when you look at the new Carbon 1, as far as the draw cycle on this bow, it comes over pretty nice. It's pretty smooth. That longer axle to axle on this new bow definitely makes it a little smoother. And it's just a really nice roll into that back wall. Doesn't drop off too hard, doesn't stack up too terribly through that draw curve. And then as you sit there, it is just a nice holding bow. It is a little heavier than what we see out of a lot of bows, especially on the carbon side of things. But that gives it some nice stability. Doesn't really affect things much once you weight these bows back up. Even the lightest of carbons, you're still going to see a bow that's in that 8-9 pound range, depending on what you do with stabilizing and other things on these bows. So overall, the Carbon 1X, a nice feel. Now, from tunability wise, they did not get the grip lock system on this, but you do have a nice grip, nice thin target style grip on here. But being a carbon riser, you don't have that adjustability that they put on some of their aluminums. But really a nice feeling grip, sits in your hand well, and the aftershot on this very dead in your hand. It's weighted on the ends with these extra limb pockets. You kind of feel that. It's where they get a little of the extra weight, even though it is a carbon riser. So overall, looking at the new Carbon 1X, a nice redesign from Bowtech. Great to see some of that new tuning technology moved into it with the TimeLock, DeadLock. You know, those things certainly make a difference when you're trying to get a bow to shoot just perfectly. And Bowtech is certainly at the top of the tuning game. So if you're looking for a new carbon riser bow, don't overlook the new Carbon 1X. Give us a call at Mike's Archery so we can set you up with one.